G'day, welcome back to Project Brupeg, the story of a sunken fishing trawler converting to a global expedition and research boat. This week we had a massive week of progress. Stu from Dangar Marine was up. We had the last few days of his trip, so we got stuck into our stabilisers and got a heap of progress done on those. We had a Patreon of ours, Scott. He came up and set up our network and the NAS that he'd previously donated for the project. And finally, we had a heck of a challenge. At the end of the week, we were absolutely stuck and our mate Trevor solved it.
You do yours, if it goes well, I'll do mine.
Sounds good.
Are you still alive at the end of it?
Yeah. I always like to lead from the back. It may not come down if you put too much weight on it.
I think we found the sweet spot.
Yeah, that was somewhere between scary and terrifying, so I'm happy with that.
We're on OH&S approved plastic work.
This one's jet.
Plastic at height work stand. Close. I'm too low, so that is alright.
Oh, are you, or is it?
No, well, it's not too low.
Wow.
Get
It
there.
came down pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay, let's just try that. Hang on, just go slow.
Yeah, I think it's gone waste.
A couple of inches and then we'll check it again.
Yep.
Let's put it up hard up against it. And mark on the actual steel itself.
Oh, and then you can check
Yep.
what the actual parallel is.
Stan Lee.
Hey, it might be an idea to cover the wood so it doesn't get covered, you know? It's a bit of a pain cleaning it, eh? So the guys are just checking whether the metal is parallel to the water line above. You can see the grey line.
Yeah, righto.
How's it sitting?
Yeah, not important now.
How's it sitting?
Yeah, it's within about 10 mil, like at either end. So the plan now is to blast probably a 50 mil strip all the way around, so it's bare steel to weld to, and then we'll put it up properly and get it perfectly aligned because it's got to be straight. If it's on an angle like that, the boat will go down. If it's up, the boat will go up. But so we need to get it straight. Yeah.
The water.
Not that, yeah. Alright, so get off that.
The sky is blue, the sun is high, sitting here on my own. I think of you, you're on my mind, you know. Do well?
Yeah.
You need to get well? So, funny story. We blasted off centre, so the guys are just putting it to the right position, and we're going to blast a little bit that we missed.
Actually, we tested the height. We didn't test it.
Yeah.
I spend my days just dreaming about you.
It's off centre by about 10 mil. Back too far, half what you just did. Yeah, it worked. It's bloody near perfect.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Given that you don't actually know how accurate that water line is.
No. Yeah, I reckon we just take it where it is.
Green grass on my neighbor's lawn.
Normally on Brupeg we use solid wire, so it's a straight wire that we use to join our mild steels together. We found a supplier for flux core wire, so this is wire that you can use without gas. In this case we're using it with a gas, but it's perfect for external welding where wind is an issue.
Is that a line?
Yeah, that's good.
You worry about parallel or not?
Nope.
check?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Bye.
I think once you get used to that wire, it's probably actually really nice.
Yeah. Sounded good.
Yeah.
Although you did have gas going too, didn't you?
It looks hotter than...
I wonder what it's like without the gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a nice enough weld.
Nice.
It's slow to weld, like you got to put a lot of metal in. That was the first time I've ever put this up against the side of the boat, and I'm absolutely stoked at how close it is to the hull.
Really good.
Yeah.
So you're in a hurry, well you better calm down. We're all friends around you, just join the fun. 'Cause if you're in a hurry, you're missing the point.
Stream close up.
So the trick is we just put a little bit of a turn on it so that there's a wee bit of friction, like strap against strap, and that way we can just pull it up. Manually, we don't have to do.
Is that enough?
That's probably enough, it doesn't take much. So just try and lift some weight with it. And if it holds it its own weight, it's all good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, eh? Alright.
Sit down and join us as we sing a good song. Keep back, relax, and just follow.
Do 650 down again.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we'll measure it from the waterline because it's our only...
And it was about 10 mil off the 650 line though, wasn't it? When we put it up, you can still see the 650 line.
I think we'll probably go and measure the other side real precise now, and then duplicate it now that we've got one.
Don't drive
set.
along this accidentally like this.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is make sure all of our alignment is good. The way that we figure out our alignment in a fore and aft plane is using the bulkhead, which is right here. This is the bulkhead, so engine bay's that side and freezer room is this side. We use that as our source of truth to get alignment that way, and then we're using the waterline to get our alignment in that sort of plane as well. It's not perfect, but it's the closest thing we've got to a straight line to work with. The chine, so the big solid round bar that's on the corner of the boat, is not straight. So because the boat's got a curve in it like that, one end's higher than the other. So we can't use that as our source of truth, or else the wings will be pointing down as we're driving forward, they'll be sort of angled down. So we're needing to use the waterline so that we can get essentially a flat plane, which is what we're after with these wings.
We had a viewer ask about the location of it, the placement.
Yeah.
Saying that they were worried that you'd be not putting it in the right place for the ballast of the boat, you know, the...
Yeah, so in an ideal world you want them reasonably far aft. The only reason we're putting them where we are is we've got a massively strong point to use in the hull, which is pretty important for us. We want to make sure this is ridiculously strong. And the other side of it is this is where the original stabilisers on Brupeg used to be. So Brupeg used to use the arm type stabilisers that I showed you earlier. So they were quite long. They were sort of, actually, here is a set of arms that's just been painted. So you can sort of see they're quite long. They're sort of 8 to 10 metres long each.
Whose are those, do you know?
They're off, I don't know, some trawler.
With the drop down bird type.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So,
These guys.
so the arms... The arms hinge off the gantry of the boat, so they're anywhere between sort of a metre and a half off the deck, and then they swing down on big hinges, so the width of the boat becomes quite wide. It can come sort of up to say 20 metres wide, and then they lower down stainless steel fins that are called paravanes or birds, and they basically drag in the water. Now the issue with those is they're really effective as stabilisers, but they're quite high drag, so they drag along at a 45-degree angle. So on a boat like Brupeg, if you're steaming along at say 8 or 9 knots and you put the birds in, you'll lose a knot of boat speed. So it's an enormous amount of friction going in the water and drag and all that sort of stuff. With the airfoil wings, and even with the flat plate wings, so a lot of commercial guys just use 25mm plate and they just gas out the shape that they want and weld it to a set of hinges and be done with it. Real fast, real easy, get it out of the water, put the wings on, put it straight back in type modification. With inefficient wings like that, they don't notice any difference in boat speed whatsoever. With airfoil wings, you can actually lift boat speed because of the airfoil shape. It provides lift on the boat. It stabilises the boat, so your boat's not losing speed as it's rolling around, wallowing in the waves. So you've got a more stable boat. You've also got a bit of lift that can, depending on how fast you're going, can actually pull the boat out of the water very slightly. All of those factors combined, you can end up with a more efficient hull overall than if you don't have stabilisers, and it's much more efficient than having the birds dragging at a 45-degree angle.
Good enough?
News, Damien. I found the sunglasses. Gold.
You should replace these.
Yeah, I think that's my old one.
Yeah.
I use the old one for the sandblasting because they get killed.
I seriously these
Oh,
days,
turn that off! Oh, hang on.
There's a full face shield and breathing protection just in one thing. Like,
Yeah, we've got them up there.
yeah, I loved it. What I got.
The only issue is the blasting is the things get wet and
Yep.
Right. The actual,
Yeah.
the
So only
filters
just with
get wet.
the wet stuff.
You can't protect the glass. Yep. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, you can't protect the glass, and it scratches way easier than that stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
It's quite soft.
That's what sandblasting
What
is.
brand is it?
That's a $40 eBay one.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure if you spent lots, you probably get a better mask, but it's still. I think the guys that built this were like, we are going fishing. We are not building a boat, we're fishing.
Yeah.
This boat was put together from first plate to going to sea for fish in 12 months.
Yeah.
So, hey?
Was it a long one?
No, it was originally a prawn boat out of Tweed Head.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a prawn boat its whole life. Yeah. They often go between prawns, scallops and sharks. Just go straight out the fish. Caviar generator.
Yeah. Right.
Not that big, eh?
No.
Pretty little, we think.
Heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah. I bet.
Nugget.
Yeah.
Right, let's get rid of some of the tools.
And it runs, does it?
Yep, that runs fine. We got it started a couple of months back.
Yeah. Right.
It's a water cooled exhaust. Do you want to eyeball it from back there, Scott, on that line?
Stern seems a bit low.
We can tack one.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that, Scott?
Yeah, the stern's low, but if you tack one, we might be able to move it up.
Righto, I'll just tack this one.
Yeah.
Right, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks it on your line.
Snap, crackly and pop that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Could also be from a doubler and water behind. Is it still a bit wet behind that you just
maybe.
warmed the line? I mean, it's... I guess by the time you get to that end, it's probably a good 5 mil. It's interesting. It's different. It's definitely
Yeah, it's definitely different. Alright, so let's knock off one of those tacks.
Yeah. And, you know, so that's pretty good at the front. That looks so similar to the other side. I reckon you can just tack both
So
sides.
let's tack the front and
I reckon just tack both sides. I reckon. Yeah. Looks good to me. It does, yeah.
So this is the doubler for the Portside welded on. Now you can sort of see at the front here, if I come right up close, we're quite close to that weld on the chine, and down the back we're, I don't know, 15 mil up, something like that. Now that's not the same as the other side, so let me show you the other side and I'll explain. This is the starboard doubler here, so you can sort of see it's fairly even. You've got about, say, 5 millimeters there and then about 5 mil there, or roughly 1/4 of an inch. Now if you have a look at the spirit level, stick that up, you can see that it's I don't know, about a quarter over that line, sticking forward. So there's a very, very slight climb uphill towards the front of the boat. So let's show you the other side. So we're back to the port side. We stick the level up. You see that level pretty much sits in the same spot. So by doing that, we know that the wings are in the same plane pointing forward as the boat travels through the water.
With this side up.
Yeah. About level on the boat, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. That'll do.
Perpendicular.
The plan now is, because we've got that top part of the hinge on there and we've got it right angles to the hull, so if you come over looking along the hull that way there, the top of the flat surface on top of that hinge there is right angles to the hull. What we need to do is start measuring out where we have to go, come up, how far up we have to go to that sponson. And you can see, if I be fancy and zoom in, ooh, look at that. See that weld line all the way along about an inch above the sponson there? That's the bend in the hull. So there's a very, very slight bend between, come this way you might be able to see it. You can sort of see there's that's the angle of the hull, and then the bulwarks kick in slightly like that off to that direction there. So we've got to emulate that within the wing. Right, do you want some headphones?
Yeah, thanks.
I wonder if it's fresh or not. Big seawater, I'm assuming.
Fresh.
Is it?
Yeah, probably come off the deck somewhere. Yeah, I don't think it would have been.
I don't know where the hole could be.
We should have drilled a quick hole and put a air compressor nozzle in.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I'd be really interested to see why there's so much there and none.
Yeah. Alright, I'll go set the plasma up and we'll do that top bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it's weird, isn't it?
We've got water coming out of everywhere.
Yeah, you do at the moment, don't you?
Like a mystery boat or something.
It's like a stigmata boat with the water.
Great visual. It's weeping for its past,
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Fresh water to symbolise a fresh start.
Maybe. Okay, she'll be fine.
Fine.
She'll be right, mate.
So Scott is setting up our NAS, and the point of the NAS is so we have it's network attached storage. And the reason we're putting a NAS into Brupeg is so that we can have decent multiple person accessible file storage. So at the moment we shoot maybe 100 to 200 gig of footage a day, and it gets to be a bit of a handful having to swap that around computers on SD cards and portable hard drives and things like that, and we run out of space all the time and very fast. So the NAS allows me to do some shooting, put it onto my computer and load it straight to the NAS, and then Jess is able to access it right away. So it knocks out about 3 hours of bouncing files around between computers on our normal day-to-day. It'll take that down to 30 minutes, something like that. So it's going to make our life pretty easy. And Scott is helping set it up, the NAS that he donated about 3 months ago. So we've got some Western Digital Red drives that we're using, and eventually we'll upgrade to solid state, but for now we're setting it up with just spinning disk hard drives.
So next step is putting the drives in the NAS. So going left and right, so drive 1, drive 2, drive 3 and drive 4 with a latch at the bottom. here.
Sweet. May not be able to see it too well with the lights, but we've got 4 green lights indicating that the drive's now live, and our status light is green. So this thing will now will boot up, and then once we're booted up, we'll jump into its operating system and we'll have a look and see what's going on. Okay, so what I've got set up here is I've booted the NAS up, and what I've done is I've got a router, just a little Telstra Netgear Nighthawk M1. That goes into this switch here, a little 8-port switch. And what this does is this connects all our network together. We've got a very simple, very rudimentary network at the moment, and this is giving us the main act of this is to provide us with a DHCP server. And what a DHCP server does is a protocol that runs on any modern network that dynamically associates IP addresses to different devices. So over here on my laptop, as you can see here on the Q Finder app, we've got the NAS online sitting at 192.168.1.122, and this allows us to now connect into the NAS, and then we'll log in and we'll check that its RAID array is all set up, and we'll get that all running, and it should be all hunky-dory. So we'll go and do that, and we'll see how we go. And it's now just initializing the hard disk and uploading the firmware, so we'll let it do that, and then we'll come back in a bit.
Sparklers.
Yeah, do you want a hat?
I don't have much natural protection.
I'll screw one.
Welding approved.
3, 2.
I got about 6 inches, so we can just grind the last bit.
Oh, so this is a cut. I'm there, cut there with a plasma, and I'm cut almost all the way through there with the.
But that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just whiz that out.
Well, we'll lever it out though and see what's holding it. Come up the other one.
So doesn't it?
Yeah. Come up the OH&S approved one.
Is that alright?
Oh, she's loose. Just stay clear.
Yep. Oh, lovely.
Who wants the catch?
Oh, big thing. No, big thing. Yeah, I'm ready. Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Not bad at all.
Nah, it's fine.
Oh, that's a relief.
We'll grind that off. So what we've done now is basically ground a slot in the piece that we've just cut out, and what that allows us to do is use our mitre gauge. We can figure out the angle that's inherent in the hull, and that allows us to figure out how much angle we have to put in the wings, because those wings have to bend right on that join where the weld is, going from the hull up into the bottom of the balks. So we'll go and figure out that angle, and we'll start making our internals for the wings. So this is our magic angle of the wings, 17 degrees. That's the bend that we have to create in the fins. So when they're down, you imagine the hull up here, the wing has a kink in it like that on its angle down, and the arm will be back up like this, locking it off.
And how does it sit when it's up?
When it's up, the wing will flip up like that and meet the same angle of the boat.
So it'll tuck in.
It'll tuck in. 1160 there. Can we go back to that back one? 1130 and 1160.
1160.
Yeah, there's a 30 mil rise in the deck. So we just did a quick measurement. between the front of the wing and the back of the wing is a 900mm span. Because the top of the hinge is parallel, the deck starts to climb up towards the bow. The bow's much higher than the back of the boat. And over the span of the wing, that 900mm span, there's a 30mm difference in the deck height. Side on, the bend will be right there on the front, in line with that weld, and it'll be there on the back. So if you imagine the wing is parallel front and back, the deck is on an angle like that, it climbs towards the bow. So when we do the bend, we have to do it from the highest point, which is the bow, and tip the wing over towards you guys. Walk and roll.
So Damien, what happens next?
Well, Stuart, what we're doing next?
So 1160 is our number. So this is what we have to create here. So if you imagine this piece here is the hinge that's on the boat. That line there is the top of the hinge that we've just put onto the boat. The first part of the wing then is a 17-degree bend, and then this is the last part of the wing. So what we're creating, so it's 1160mm from that line there to the bend. From this end of this steel right up to this mark here is 1160. So what we're creating with this system here, we're trying to basically create this bend, which is a 17-degree bend in the wing. And the way that we do that is we halve the 17 degrees, so this is an 8.5-degree line. So this is square, and that's an 8.5-degree line there. We slice this, we flip either one of these over, it doesn't matter, we flip one over and then we weld them together, and that gives us a 17-degree bend, which is this join here. That should be bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NAS then distributes your network, we plug it into that, plug it into Jess's Mac, plug it into this Mac,
Right.
and everything just talks over
So
again.
everything plugs into the switch, and the switch plugs into the router.
Yeah,
Into the
exactly
motor.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, we've got the one that you sent.
yeah.
So we'll grab that. Fire
See
it
if
up.
it works,
All right. Cool.
and then fire it up.
Gonna roll it? Yeah, there we go. That sounds really good.
It's like what?
Sounds really good.
Yeah.
On the last weld.
Oh, lovely.
Now that the welds on the other side are brilliant. Way better than normal.
Wow. Oh, God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Safe.
Okay, ready? Well done!
Stare at the light.
You're still using the same wire.
Yeah. That's not the smoothest weld.
The other
Not a bad weld.
The other side's much prettier.
Really? You're quite chirpy. You're obviously happy with the other one.
Yeah, that one's like, it's okay, but it's a bit wobbly all over the show.
Oh, this looks lovely. Yeah, alright. It's pretty good.
So, do that again 3 more times.
That's not going to break.
No, I don't think so.
First pass, that's what we call the root run. We do one small little bead in there, chip it all out, flip it over, and then grind it out from the other side. So what we've done now is ground out the back of the root weld. So we fill this now up with weld, and that means we've essentially got two small welds right in the center line on either side. Then we'll flip it back over and do a big capping bead, and then flip it back to this side and do a capping bead on this. So there's 4 runs that we're doing on each of these joins because of the thickness of metal.
turn the table. The table's alright, it's alright, eh?
That's right.
And then Control 0 will reset you back to your default zoom.
Lovely.
It's like a teleprompter.
Right.
Yeah. Countdown, countdown.
Julian.
Did someone say, did you have your bacon and eggs?
You've had your bacon. He just makes the best stuff for breakfast.
Alright.
That's Dennis pressing a button and it nukes itself.
See, I am sensitive, I told you.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hi!
How you all doing? Welcome to Brupeg. So we have Dangar Stu with us today.
Hello.
And Scott!
And Scott's the
Morning.
Patreon of Brupeg. So we're up here getting a whole bunch of stuff done on the boat. Scott's helping us with some network gear and Dangar Stu's just bluffing around. You can see on this hinge here, that line basically lines up between the two slabs of stainless and the hinge, and then that line there, essentially the same thing. So we carry those lines up. It's a wee bit hard to see, but on that side you can kind of see if you follow that up, right up to the sponson there, the half round, and then we go forward 100mm, and then at this back end of the hinge, you do the same thing, straight up and then back 100mm, and that's the gap that we need to cut with the plasma cutter. Destroyed the cabling in the temporary insulation we had on the roof, but we have set up a Cat 7 cable. So this is our Cat 7 network cable for the boat, and runs all the way down the backbone of the roof over to the air conditioner. You can kind of see it over here. We've got cable trays. If I can get the camera to focus, there we go. Cable trays onto the roof, goes up through. We've got a 200mm PC fan that we've mounted in there so that we can air cool our NAS. So our Cat 7 cable is basically running through up behind the dash. This is all of the cables for the dash and the engine controls. That's the main wiring harness, and that's our network. And then coming across here, we've temporarily got it set it up on the front of the desk, but we've got our NAS, our switch, we've got a modem somewhere over the back, and essentially what we've got now is a linked system between the two Macs and the NAS, so we should be able to do all of our file transfer over Cat 7. Quite smooth, like for a plasma anyway.
Yeah.
Smooth.
No, I like it.
Stu and I have just worked all day to get this bloody half round off, and then we forgot to press record on the camera when we finally did. But it's off, and that's what matters. That's what we're left with, and that's our lump of goo. Look at this black oily crap that was inside it. Ew, yucky.
Gave up, yeah. I blame you.
We finally managed to get the angle for this side. So we measured it at the back end of the wing, the same as we did on the other side. The other side's 17 degrees for the curve that goes in the wing, or sorry, the bend that goes in the wing. This side is 13 degrees, so Brupeg has a little bit of a twist going on. It's pretty standard with steel boats for them to be not completely straight, and in this case, it's only from the deck up on the essentially the bulwark, so like the solid handrail thing that goes all the way around the side of the boat. It doesn't really affect the way the boat goes through the water or anything, but it does affect the way that we have to build the wings, because they're not going to be perfectly the same as each other. One has to have slightly more curves so that it matches the boat. We need to make them different so that it looks perfect when they're up against the side of the boat, when we're up against a wharf or a marina or something like that, as opposed to the wings being identical and one of them looking like it's sticking out on an odd angle.
Should I split the difference and go 12.5? Because one's your reading, one's my reading. You know, truth's probably somewhere in the middle.
there you have it. Flux core maketh the welder. I'm pretty stoked with how that's turned out. I never really anticipated flux core making that much difference. But wow, I don't think I'll be going back to solid wire for a while. Every fuse on every circuit seems to be blowing right now. I've changed power leads and I've changed equipment and it doesn't seem to be making any difference. So because we're having so many problems with power, we got ourselves a generator. So it's a 5,000 constant, 5 kilowatt constant, and I think it's 6.1 kilowatts peak. But it's a little air-cooled diesel generator with a couple of 15 amp plugs. So we're firing it up now. Stu's just pouring oil all over the ground in preparation. Lovely jubbly, look at that. We're both having a hissy fit about who's right. We have to figure out. So this is the hinge end, right? So from here up to wherever we have to cut it, it has to be 1160. That's easy to measure. However, it's not a straight line. We have to either cut it that way or cut it that way, depending on which part of the wing we're figuring out. We're just trying to figure out which way we have to cut it, and yeah, our brains are starting to falter.
It's totally upside down though, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
So this goes on the top of the wing.
Yes, that's the top.
It's the inside being on the top. So if we flip it over, it'll be, because if we flip it over, it then goes this way.
Yeah, that's correct.
So theoretically at the moment, we're going to bring it up and bend it this way, which means the middle has to come out. It's going to be that sort of shape. It's a teardrop shape.
We have to build it this side up, so there's no point in us flipping it up the other way though.
So yeah, so if it's going to bend and down.
Yes.
So if it goes down,
the middle's going to get evaporated.
It's going to go. So I think we have to do this teardrop shape.
Yeah, you're right. So we could cut the straight line.
Straight line and then just start grinding the centre till they touch.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right. Cool, let's do that. Just describe.
Well,
let's brainstorm to make sure we don't cut up our only wing.
That's my worry, is like, is there a way to...
Why don't we get some scrap aluminium and just...
That's what I'm thinking, do a model.
All right, let's do a model. Yep. So the thought that I had,
yep.
This is upside down, so
yep.
assume it's this way round,
yep.
Right? We've got the distance between the bend and the hull is known, and that one there can be variable, the distance out to the other end of the wing, and then we can trim them to be the same. But as we bring them up, right,
yep.
they separate out like that. But if we assume the edges touch,
yep.
and bring that up like that, and draw a line,
and then bend the batten around it.
Yeah, and then we're basically going to get that curve the way it's supposed to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So you could actually do, like you've done, I think I saw on the side, where you had multiple data points. You can say, so on this line, it's like making a lofting plan.
Yeah. But in an ideal world, we need to take half off each side.
Yeah.
So if we could almost figure out what our measurement is. Let's say it's 50 mil in the middle, just for argument's sake. We could just basically take 2.5 to 1.5
each way,
etc.
Yep.
To get it even.
Or lift it to 6 degrees instead of 12, and then just mark it like.
Oh yeah, good.
Do either way, and then.
That's a good. Yeah,
double it.
Let's do that. All right, so we can start by basically cutting our known length, because we know we're going to take some more off. Roll on. There's a good sign. Sparky van's arrived. Hopefully we'll have power so we can start getting our big welder out again. The little generator works brilliant when we're doing stick welding with 2.6mm sticks, but it can't handle the MIG when it's at full power, and we're getting better welds with the MIG at full power than we are with the little sticks, so we're going to carry on with those. It's been a really big week for us. We got a lot taken off our to-do list. I really want to say thanks to the guys. Stu gave us a huge amount of help on our stabilisers, getting the wings glued onto the side of the boat. We made a lot of progress on the foils themselves. Scott gave us a huge amount of help on our network infrastructure, so we now have a network through the boat, a fibre optic network, as well as our NAS setup, which has been awesome. Absolutely streamlined what we're doing with our filming and our data. And finally, I want to say thanks to Trev. Once again, he's the most generous dude, and we were completely stuck, and he solved it with the donation for the generator. So guys, I really want to say thank you.
You got eyes like summer sky. If you're smart, could kill or die. And now it starts to rain, so let's enjoy it.